So the hunter-gatherer within, and just to have it's on the 18th to the 20th of October, and
Yes.
yeah, so Friday to Sunday, and yeah. So Danielle, why are we choosing to do this?
Well, I know why I'm choosing to do it. So I guess like a little pre-spiel about it. So I know that you had previously done some work with fathers and men's circles, and I had previously done some work with women's circles, and there was this kind of little overlap between the work that we were doing, and then found out that you were a storyteller, and I have kind of just got into storytelling, but the paths for me seem to kind of like overlap quite a lot. And so then with the hunter-gatherer, for me personally, it feels like the two, like the dual aspects and the dual natures of a human being. And I think typically we see the hunter as someone that is male, and we see the gatherer as women traditionally. And the idea for me is like the hunter-gatherer represents something a bit bigger. So not necessarily just the masculine and feminine in terms of energies, but also like the ego and the wild self. And I think there's such a crossover between that, and how actually both of us, like not just us, but like every person needs to latch on to and find their inner hunter and their inner gatherer to have like to be whole almost, and to have balance and wholeness within themselves. So that's why I think we're doing this. What is your answer?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I guess we first got in contact with each other probably around a year ago, and we were, we because of this, your work with sort of women's circles and my work with men's groups and fathers and things like that. So we, we've been sort of thinking, I would like to do something together, and it's sort of, this is the time where it's sort of suddenly all came together that we could. Yeah, and I think, quite early on in our conversation, actually, this sort of idea of the hunter-gatherer thing came up, and it seemed to click something in there. I think for me, a lot of the things that you talked about there are true for me as well, and we've sort of talked about that together. And I feel that also there's this idea that really struck me with the hunter-gatherer is, when we're talking about story, we've been telling stories for forever. Yeah. Since we were hunter-gatherer culture, since we could first communicate, probably even before we could sort of verbally communicate, with grunts and whatever like that. So to explain our thing, but with that, I think there's the narratives that have sort of traveled through. They've somewhere along the way, they have sort of solidified into what is the role of a sort of male and what is the role of a female. And there's lots of we've been sort of exploring this, and there's lots of sort of more recent sort of archaeological evidence and anthropological evidence to suggest that actually back in the day, that it wasn't just men going out hunting. Actually, there was a mixture of women were hunting as well, men were gathering as well. So that's interesting to me. But also the so it's sort of looking at these narratives of hunter and gatherer, but also sort of blurring the lines. And I think so, using story to do that, to explore sort of our sort of own, how we relate to the stories, which are the stories that are sort of just part of being human, part of sort of that we embody as natural beings in the world, and which are the stories which have been sort of forced upon us, which are the stories that we haven't, that we, that are just so sort of ingrained into us as this is the way it is, that we don't question, does it need to be that way? So I feel for me that that's something also that really appealed to me with this hunter-gatherer. And just fascinating. I think there's just so many avenues we could go down.
There's so many different layers to it, and we've based it a lot around like the masculine and the feminine, because I think that's I think that's so important, and especially like at the moment, I think it's quite like on topic actually. Like people are actually discussing it, and like the role of men and how men should be, and the role of women and what women should look like, and what women and how women should behave. And when you remove gender entirely and you just look at what's the masculine energy, what's the feminine, and how can I choose to be in both. So traditionally, like the masculine energy is a lot more like, it's logical, it's very linear, it's very more organized, a bit more assertive. And then you've got the feminine, which is cyclical, seasonal, it's nurturing, it's loving, it's like life, and I see that reflected in the hunter-gatherer. And then actually when you like really break it down, you go, do you know what, the hunter needs both, as does the gatherer, and they wouldn't be able to fulfill either of their roles if the hunter wasn't in tune with nature, but didn't have, he needs that, or she needs that assertiveness to do the hunting, and the gatherer needs the same. And so there's so much overlap in, like, even just those two roles, if we're not talking about it metaphorically, where the hunter isn't just like, oh, I'm the man, I'm going to go out and kill something, and the woman is like this delicate being at home. There's such like a richness to having both aspects of both the dual natures of these like energies, or they're energies, they're not archetypes, but holding that within us. I got like a great quote here actually. I found it earlier, which is, do you know Bill Plotkin?
Do I know who? Sorry?
Bill Plotkin, the work of Bill Plotkin.
You know the work of Bill Plotkin.
He's like, he does the Anima Valley Institute. He's like this massive animist, very scholarly, great teacher. And he has said that a healthy ego is full of imagination, empathy, intimacy, emotional expression, and sensing, in addition to thinking. And that for me is like, that's the hunter-gatherer, because that's the ego and the wild nature, like in balance, it's working in balance with each other. And I think a lot of us are out of balance. And then, that's what I love about the idea of this weekend, is trying to find that balance for people again, and to kind of maybe shift some perspectives and open new ways to thinking and being, that just get people slightly shifting into a different way of being for themselves that works. And I think that story is great for that, because I think when you're listening to a story, it will resonate with people on so many different levels, as opposed to I don't know, like reading loads of articles, or researching loads of stuff, or there's a great place for therapy and CBT and things like that. But I also think that when you come back to stories, they're the root of the wisdom, aren't they? And there's so many ways that you can take a story and pick it apart. So
it's true. I was in a storytelling workshop recently. There's a great storyteller called Danielle, and he shared a quote. I think he might have been sharing a quote from someone else, but now it's going to be his quote because I remember him saying it. But it was like, it said, when you read a story, it goes straight to your brain, and when you listen to a story, it goes straight to your heart. And I thought that was really really nice. Well, obviously, because my work is primarily, I am a storyteller, so obviously that appealed to me. But yeah, it appeals to me on a lot of levels, and I think it's true. And I think with that, this is why I think it's important to bring the story into this space, because I feel, I don't know, there's something about gathering around as a group and listening to stories together and sharing stories. We're going to be bringing in, I think our idea is we're going to have one sort of bigger story to hold the weekend. But mean, that's going to be, you know, bigger in terms of sort of length and maybe depth, but we're also going to intersperse sort of smaller stories. But I think we can't fall into the trap of believing a smaller story is a less powerful or less it doesn't like strike you straight in the heart any less so than the lengthy one. So yeah, there's going to be a mixture of it, and I hope other people will be able to bring, you know, I tell stories, that's what I do, but everyone does as well, and I'm really excited to see what other stories come in, because this is actually one of the things that I feel is important to sort of you know, just allow people to just to remind people that, well, certainly I'll speak for myself, I'm not an expert on all of this stuff. I'm not an expert on how, I mean, I tell stories, but I'm only beginning to understand the tiniest fraction of what stories really do. It'll take me a lifetime to work that out. And the masculine, feminine, all of the stuff we're bringing to this, we're inviting people to come and join and experiment and work it out. And with us, we're facilitating it. We're holding the space. But when I first started sort of running storytelling groups with men, I sort of had this sort of idea that I needed to know everything about the story, and I'd spend sort of ages. I'd spend, you know, maybe the session sort of 2 hours long, and I'd spend sort of weeks before researching a story, practicing a story, trying to find all the symbols in the story. So because I wanted, when people said, what do you think this part of the story means, I can say, well, you know, it has the red and the black and the blue, they will symbolize this and this and that. And you know, I'd be fearful that people would sort of catch me out. And then I realized they are going to catch me out, because I'm not this super wisdom holder. The story is a super wisdom holder. And someone would come to the group, you know, someone that had never really heard anyone tell a story. No, their storytelling wasn't part of their world. And the first thing that would come out of their mouth would be mind-blowingly more wise than any of that stuff that I had spent all that time researching. And I'm very soon, or actually probably took me a little bit too long, but quite soon I realized that, you know, I'm not there to impart my wisdom.
Yeah, you tell the story.
I'm here to tell a story and bring some of my you know, what I think may be quite, you know, insightful things, and then listen to the more insightful things that the other people bring. But yeah. So
it's discussion, isn't it? I think what I hope for the weekend is that it's a collaborative weekend. Like you said, we're holding it, and we'll have like the structure so that you know, that will allow people to feel safe and like they know what they're doing. But ultimately, like, yeah, people bring in their own stuff, and I don't want it. Yeah, there needs to be like a level of like there's so much equality between everyone in terms of, just because we're telling the stories doesn't mean that no one else can share their own stories, or that, because like you just said, like so many people have their own wisdom and knowledge and their own, you know, perceptions of the story and what it means to them, that you can't fathom, or you won't know about.
Yes.
And I think that's what will make it really rich as a weekend, is, you know, the more people that can come, the better, because then you get this such a rich discussion that is so deep and just full of fun and wisdom.
I mean, my real hope is that obviously me and you, we will spend a lot of time planning and trying to structure and bring in the activities, and we'll do that because we will think it's very important. And then when we get there, I hope that it will end up being something completely beyond our expectations, and go and we'll hold our structure lightly, and we'll go with what comes up with the people that come. And I think it's going to be beautiful.
I really
We've got we're doing it. I'm fortunate enough to live in this beautiful place in the sort of west of Herefordshire, which is we're right on where it's going to be held. So it's Rock Cottage. Rock Cottage itself is a sort of very old cottage in a sort of a valley, and we're about 10 miles from the Welsh border. You can see from where we're going to be holding it, the Black Hill, which is the sort of border between England and Wales. It's very lovely landscape. And yeah, then in the garden behind Rock Cottage, we've got a yurt that I run storytelling stuff from. My wife's a yoga teacher. She runs her yoga classes from there, and it's just lovely surroundings. There's a meadow next door that we can go into, and down a slope, and there's a beautiful brook at the bottom surrounded by trees. So I mean, I think we'll try and do stuff there, some more like structured stuff, but there's going to be plenty of time where people can just sort of go off and sit by the brook. There's a woods behind with a footpath that goes through it that's really beautiful. There'll be lots of space for people to sort of digest, go out and have sort of solo retreat time by themselves, which will be nice. And I
was going to say, like, retreat wise, that I think I think it has the potential to be quite deep, and I think that might not necessarily put people off, but people might go, oh no, I don't know if I want to I don't know if I want to do that much inner work and that much I have self-reflection. No idea what happened.
I don't know what happened there either. It just suddenly stopped.
Yeah.
And that was nice. We were in quite a good flow.
I was there, wasn't I? Yeah, we were in it.
Yeah.
I can't remember what I was saying. I think something about it being quite deep, and that might put people off.
Yes.
Is that where I was at? Yeah.
Yeah, we were. I think that's what we were talking about.
Yeah. Oh God, tech. Yeah, I think I was trying to say that because it was off the back of you talking about it going to be like this really lovely retreat with like loads of space to be, and the idyllic location that you're in. And I wanted to say that although it sounds like it has the propensity to be quite a deep thing where people are maybe challenging perceptions or like doing a bit of digging, like an inner work, and being quite reflective, that actually that it shouldn't feel heavy. Like it should feel very like just very, we'll be talking about deep stuff and stuff that has depth and stuff that's really, really rich, but that the way that hopefully it will be held is that it will just be like this very organic, natural, like flow state. If I'm going to talk about feminine energy, it'll be that with your holding structure of like what the weekend looks like, so it should feel like a rest, like you're listening to stories, like you get to reflect on them in your own time, like you get to wander around and be in nature, and like you get to enjoy yourself. Like I'm hoping that people don't come away feeling like, oh my God, that was really like intense. And my hope is that actually the stories are like quite restorative for people.
So I think hopefully like the people will watch the second part, because I think you were just in the flow saying, and they made me think that we were going to overthrow them with like pile on depth. I think that's important, really important. And everything we do is going to be an invitation, and if you are feeling that you're filling up with stuff, then that's the time to just step away and go and enjoy something else. So people are invited to. I think it's nice to sort of have an invitation to go into a deep place, but not to feel that you need to go. None of us want to leave feeling sort of that we're too full and too sort of unhinged with depth. It's going to be, will be space to relax, space to.
And I think our plan is to have like a few like quite nice like workshops or activities for people, again, like you said, like if people want to, but I might bring my drum and I could do some drumming for people, and like all of these really nice things that just make it enjoyable, as well as like you just get to listen to a bunch of stories and be on this beautiful land like that. At the bare minimum, that's what people get. So that sounds great.
And we're gonna have and a lot of it, we're going to be sharing food together. It's going to be I guess relative simple food. We're going to sort of cook it at home, and we're going to have a fire and I mean, hopefully we'll all have to sort of pray for some beautiful weather that we'll sit outside all evening, but it is the middle of October in England, so who knows. But yeah, and if not, we have in the yurt there's a log burner, and in the cottage there's a log burner, so we'll be sitting around the log burner, a fire somewhere, whether outside or inside. And yeah, there'll be lots of space. We'll share foods. Yeah, and people, I mean, it depends on how many people come to what the sleeping arrangements are like. I wrote on the flyer simple accommodation, in which my wife said, "Why did you say simple? It's really nice accommodation." So yeah, I mean, it's so we've got a few spare rooms in the cottage with beds, and then we've got the yurt with the fire that we can use, and we've also got a gypsy caravan, which is very cool. It has a log burner in it. And
that doesn't sound simple, actually. That sounds like that doesn't sound simple. That sounds great.
I guess the what I was saying to someone, like, I guess my thing so simple is that it's not sort of 5-star accommodation. We're not going to have those white robes with embroidered things and the little white slippers that you get in hotels, but it will be comfortable and it will be nice, and the food was good. It's all all the food's going to be vegan, and we'll cater to people's needs. But yeah, it'll be wholesome, nice food. You won't go hungry, and so in the
really nice, like a community weekend, really, isn't it, where we all just kind of come together and find, you know, people from all different types of walks of life who are all joined together by the want to know about, you know, to hear the stories of the hunter and the gatherer and what that means for them. And I think, I love it when people cook together and like come together, and like so much magic happens when you remove yourself from just being like the individual into being like this interdependent little community for a weekend. So much stuff can happen. I'm really excited about it. I can't wait to be there and to do it.
I'm very excited about it as well. I think it's going to be a really really lovely weekend, really beautiful, and I mean, I think people will leave feeling nourished, and hopefully connected with other people, and hopefully go out and continue to explore this stuff, which I'm sure a lot of people will already be exploring before they arrive. So it's really nice. So we'll sort of have a gentle landing together on the Friday, and then sort of probably the Saturday be a little more of the sort of deep dive, and then sort of returning on the Sunday with sort of releasing us on a story journey. You know, that's what the arc of a story. You know, you start off in this sort of nice thing, then something happens, and there's a conflict, and then at the end. So it'll be like our own. We're creating a story together, and it will be
our own story. Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that.
Yeah.
Great. I can't think of any. I mean, there's only a few people watching. If any of those people do have a question, now would be a good time to ask it, I guess. But obviously, we're on social media, so you can pop us messages there, and emails, and via your website. Everything is on your website at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, everything's on my website at the moment, because Danielle's website is between pages. So we're doing it on my website, and and just feel free to come drop us, either of us, a message, or I'm happy to pick up the phone and have a chat if you want to know more. And I've enjoyed doing this. Maybe we'll do another one before, when we've got some more
stories, and we can like lure people in with the stories.
We can. That's true. So please just reach out. I'll post these if you have only got the part 2, because the first part there was some technical error that we disappeared. Then I'll upload both of these videos, so go back and watch the first one if you want to find out some of the things you missed. But either of us are happy to have a chat with you, and so please do feel free to.
I think one of the key things to mention would be that you don't have to identify as male or female. I think we've written it all up as well to attend, but you can, because what we're exploring is bigger than gender. So it's, what, you know, everyone has these masculine and feminine qualities and energies within themselves. Everyone is the hunter and the gatherer. So, you know, it's not necessarily just aimed at men or at women. It is, or any gender, you know, trans, non-binary people, all welcome. I think that's just important to note.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, this is
Inclusive space, yeah. Lovely. All right then. Should we, just in case I get kicked out again, should we leave it before I do that?
Oh yeah, leave it before anything else goes. Come up. But thank you for everyone that has joined, and for everyone that's watching this afterwards. And thank you to you, Dan.
Thank you to you. I hope I mean, I'll speak to you soon, and I hope to see everyone else that's watching this. I hope to see you and meet you at some point.
Perhaps on the 18th of October in Herefordshire at the Hunter Gatherer Within.
There we are. I'll see you later.
Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. No, I